We're past the midway point of the year, and we can definitely tell that the economy has started to roar back. Today on Non-Toxic Environments, we'll be talking with Jen and Rusty Stout from JS2 Partners in Texas, so they can let us know all about their new construction starts and new projects that they have underway. Thanks for joining us. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Non-Toxic Environments. This is Andy Pace. Jay Watts is with me this week to talk to our good friends down in Texas at JS2 Partners, Jen and Rusty Stout. Jay, how are you this week?
Well, it's been a good week, Andy. It's been a good week. Yeah, it's been a real good week. Despite all the upheaval that surrounds us in our industry, it's been a good week.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah. So, every so often, I think not as often as we'd like, but we get a chance to bring our friends Jen and Rusty in to talk about what's happening in their neck of the woods. And we get so many emails and calls from customers excited for this show because they're kind of following along with this process. Mm-hmm. They remember the first time we had them on the show probably 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they love to hear about the progress, and they're asking the next time they'll come on. Well, here we are. So Jen, Rusty, how are you today?
Awesome. Thank you for having us on again.
Oh, you got it. It's always so much fun to hear about what's going on with you guys. And every time we talk to you, it's like, you're going in 19 different directions. So I have to assume nothing's changed on that front.
No, absolutely not.
Actually, probably added a few directions if there are any left.
Oh boy.
I think of it like a construction diary. It's like a diary. It's how it feels. It's like a continuing saga. It's almost like the old-fashioned radio days where they used to do serials where they'd record like a book, and it would be a mystery, and they'd record a chapter or two, and then you'd have to wait a whole week for the next installment. I kind of feel like this is what we have. It's that beautiful kind of diary of what's going on with you two down there, and how your awareness is changing, and how you're having to shift and adjust to the different things that are going on. So it's going to be fascinating to hear what you have to say today.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys are having a good time watching us deal with the crisis going on down south.
Yeah,
I guess it's all over the U.S.
So that we obviously share your pain with that, but you're in the trenches. I mean, you have to deal with, we've talked about this before. Jay and I. Jay's got 252 products to do 252 SKUs that he has to deal with.
I cannot imagine.
I've got a little over 4,000 that I've got to deal with. You guys not only have materials, but you have trades that you have to deal with. How has the last few months gone? Have you found that you've been able to get through this push and you see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, we've definitely gotten through the push. We're busier than ever. I think during the throes of COVID, we took more calls, answered more emails than we ever have before. Wow. I don't know if that's a product of people just being cooped up and needing something to do, or if they were actually like, man, we really need to pay attention to our health. This is a scary world. But nonetheless, we've signed up a lot of new builds. We're on a waiting list at this point. Wow. And we just really had to sit back and rethink how, Andy, you've been doing this a long time. You get kind of set in your ways on how you schedule a job. And we've had to completely rethink that. The supply chain issues, as you guys are well aware of, have changed everything. And unfortunately, it seems to be changing every week. And so light at the end of the tunnel, not quite sure. Maybe if it's a long tunnel.
Yeah.
I do feel like we have an advantage, though. We've been doing this for so long as far as having to, plan ahead. It's all about planning ahead in construction for anybody. But, time is money. And especially when it comes to having to source and purchase all of our materials from places across the United States. It's not like we can go to Home Depot and buy our healthy materials. We have to plan it ahead. So I think, having that constant communication between our guys in the field and our JS2 purchasing team and all of our trade partners has really been essential. And we haven't really had to re-gear from that standpoint since we already had kind of a framework laid out for that.
Jay, you and I have done shows in the past about the topic of managing projects, managing expectations of those projects. And this seems to be, this is a real world scenario here. There's always been, I think, an example, there's always a fight on the site between who goes first, the floor installer or the painter, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now it's whoever gets there first, right?
That's totally true.
Yeah, I mean, that is, and you hit the key word now, and I think I told you this a few weeks ago when we spoke. A big part of my day now, and Jen's day as well, is spent managing expectations. Right. Constant communication with you guys, constant communication with our clients, just trying to set those expectations, letting them know what's happening, letting them know how we're having to pivot here and there. But what's a silver lining is I am speaking to the clients more now, and you tend to develop a relationship with them that you probably wouldn't otherwise. And it's really, really neat to see, like, as you talk to them every day, the excitement that builds. You kind of take that for granted. Like, you're really building someone, in our case, a life-changing house.
Right. That's a great point. Jay, how many people do you talk during the day, and then at the end of the conversation they thank you for the time you spent, right?
Yeah, it's well, it's the same for you. I'm sure it's part of the reason we come to work every day. I mean, we know we're trying to make a difference here. And I think, Rusty, you really tapped into something there. I think the more communication you have with your client, the better, because if it goes too long and they don't know what's going on, they start making up bad stuff. I can't think of another way to say it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because typically the thought is, well, they're not talking to me because something's out of whack. And I think it's better to just say, hey, listen, we're going to have a meeting I'm going to call you every Thursday at 11 o'clock, like clockwork. And I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. And I'm going to be upfront with you and tell you what's going on. Yeah, it's going great. Or no, we've had a hiccup. We've had a hiccup in the supply chain somewhere along. As you know, right now, the raw ingredients world from my perspective is kind of chaotic. I have products I can't make because I can't get the raw ingredients to make them. And as you know, what happens as soon as one product doesn't have the raw ingredients, everybody wants that product.
Yeah.
Gotta have that one.
Right.
And it's like,
domino effect.
oh, it's like, yeah, it just kind of throws everything out of whack. And I guess for us, the hardest thing about it is we can't get any answers about when. It's like, okay, you don't have the raw ingredients. Well, when are you going to get them? And then when are you going to start making my products? And they go, well, we don't know. And it's like, well, what do I do with we don't know?
Yeah, we struggle with that daily. I mean, we get that from a lot of different vendors, and unfortunately they're not trying to be difficult. They really don't know.
No. It's absolutely true. And not trying to disguise anything. It's exactly what we're hearing. So, and of course, it's having an impact on the price of raw ingredients. Raw ingredient prices have been kind of being bumped up. Just they always are moving up, but this time it seems to be a bigger jump than probably what we had, traditionally or historically expect from our suppliers. But that just points out the whole idea, Rusty, that you're talking about. It is this constant communication, constantly letting your clients know, here's the situation. That builds such goodwill that, and it can be rare. In fact, it is rare. It's very rare. But I think your clients probably are expecting it, right? Because you're building healthy homes. They want a healthy home. And so they're just thinking, hey, you know what? They're going to be better at this. They're going to be a heck of a lot better. Yeah. They're going to be better at building it. They're going to be better at talking about it. And that's the kind of relationship we want going forward. And that's the kind of relationship that will certainly grow your business. And Andy, you know that too. It's the same thing with you and me.
It is. I think about it from the building perspective. I've got clients right now in just about every state in this country building a home. I'm thinking of 2 clients right now, specifically one in California and one here in Wisconsin. And one is going with a custom home builder and one is going with actually like a very, very large, almost like tract home builder, but they have a custom division. And it's just a remarkable difference between what a custom home builder will allow and what the tract home builder will allow. And talk about communication or lack thereof. I mean, JS2, you probably have, and I don't know, I'll throw out a number. Let's say you've got anywhere about a half a dozen homes or so under construction at any given time. So that's a lot. That's a lot to juggle. Imagine if you're one of these giant builders that you put up 500 homes a year, and they at any given time they got 50 homes or 60 homes under construction. It's no wonder why they can't keep in constant contact with their customers, and why they don't give their customers the ability to choose a lot of the materials that go into the home. Because if that's the case, they'd never build anything. They'd never get anything done. So, you guys are probably about as large of a custom home builder as you really want to be at your level to keep control of the project and of all the projects. And if you wanted to grow, and I'm sure you have plans to grow from this point, it's probably meaning bringing more people on to be those extra points of contact.
Yeah, it boils down to quality control. I mean, you can't build a healthy home without that extreme level of quality control. And so it's not something that's really scalable on like the mass scale. So
right.
And that's okay. We love having that really close one-on-one relationship with our clients. And I feel like that really helps us shine as far as being able to build exactly what they want and, not have 5 different options and calling ourselves, custom home builders.
Yeah. And we figured out too, that the people that call us and they hear, oh gosh, you guys have a waiting list, and they're disappointed at first, but then when you explain to them kind of exactly what you just said, Andy, and what Jim was saying is, if I take on your home, somebody's going to suffer, or everyone's going to suffer. It wouldn't be fair to you. It wouldn't be fair to the current person. It wouldn't be fair to us. And so the reason why we do have that waiting list is so we can pay each house the attention it deserves. And I mean, that's just something that Jen and I decided from day one, that each client deserves the same. And you guys say that too. I mean, when I've called you and like, kind of like what Jay's saying, where's my stuff? You guys tell me, you have to remind me, every client is the same. So
yeah, and so to that point, I had a consult with a customer yesterday, and she said that she was able to find a contractor to do some work in her home. Everybody she called was 3 to 5 weeks out. This one contractor, yeah, I can come tomorrow and do it. And I said, be careful, be careful. The good contractors are the ones who have a long waiting list these days. And so that, I mean, there's something to be said about that. If you know what your limit is at this point right now with your staff, with your logistics and material availability, this is what we can do comfortably without causing delay. Well, if you add one more project, that's going to hurt everybody. And I see that. And customers need to recognize that. So I've got a question a little bit different. In the last 12 to 15 months, because of the pandemic, and you had mentioned this before, Rusty, people sitting at home looking at things in their house and that need to be fixed, or they're deciding maybe now's a good time to look at building. And as long as I'm spending more time, let's make it a healthier home. I have to imagine that at some point, the traditional building market is going to look at this and say, there's something here. Now, I've been pushing for this literally for 30 years. I remember 25 years ago, I came out with a healthy home option like kits that I would sell to builders here in Wisconsin. If you wanted to do, an A level, B level, C level of a healthy home, here's what the option would be per home.
I remember
Builders had just nothing. They wanted nothing to do with that. They didn't want to give their customers options of healthy because that just meant that all their other homes are toxic. But now that this is now starting to become more mainstream, I have to imagine that more and more mainstream builders are picking up on this. And so first, have you seen that in your area? And if you have, I mean, what are they doing in their attempts to try to make the home healthy?
So not only, go ahead.
I just was going to make a funny comment. We were working with one builder. I love that, where their mindset is at, but the only thing that they felt like they should do was to paint the AC registers in healthy paint because that's where the air in the house flows through. And I'm like, what about the walls and the ceilings? I mean, I like the train of thought, but there is no like semi-healthy home. It's either all or nothing according, to our philosophy.
Sure.
And what I was going to say, you said in our area, well, it's not only in our area. I mean, we get the trade magazines from NAHB and Texas Association of Builders, and there are ads in it now. Healthy home, healthy.
Really?
Even I can't remember, but one of the track home guys is like, here's our our healthy home package. But again, somebody has to sit there that's logical and say, okay, if my home's healthy, what about the one before that?
Right.
And do these guys really know what they're doing? And the answer is likely no. Typically, if someone that doesn't do healthy homes is trying to get in this market, their only knowledge is really, or their focus is going to be on indoor air quality. They think because they put in a very high efficient AC unit and do the UV air filters and all that stuff that they're creating a healthy environment. And really all they're doing is just spreading all the VOCs and formaldehyde and everything else around their house. They're just doing it very efficiently, so their electric bill isn't high.
That's a good point, Rusty. I find that I remember I wrote an article for a builders magazine, back in the mid 90s, late 90s, and I said that building a healthy home, it requires a systems approach. It's not something that any one trade or any one, like HVAC, as you mentioned, you can put in the best HVAC system in the world with all the best purification and UV and carbon and all that. But if your whole house is full of carpet, what good does that HVAC system do? It doesn't do a darn thing.
Right.
So it definitely takes a systems approach. And here in Wisconsin, I hear ads all the time, especially for the HVAC contractors that call themselves, and there's literally one down the street that calls himself a healthy home guru.
Yeah.
And his version of a healthy home is a home that's got great HVAC. Well, in Wisconsin, you've got 7 months of heat, you've got 4 months of AC, and maybe a month where you can actually open up windows and get fresh air in the house.
Yes.
Right. And so, it's a very interesting climate, as is Texas, as is every place around the country. Everybody has their own climate issues, but there's so many more things to deal with than just the HVAC, or just because you use, zero VOC paint on the air grills, that's going to make a difference throughout your entire house. That's unbelievable.
Well, you said something there, the healthy home guru. There's someone in our area that they say they have the healthy home blueprint.
Oh,
their package deal. This is our healthy home. Well, a blueprint implies that it's designed, it's ready to go. But Andy, I would imagine, how many people a day do you talk to? Do you
on the average 50 or 60?
Are they all the same? Do they all have the same health issues? Do they all have the same sensitivity?
Not in the slightest.
So how could you have a blueprint for those, everyone is different. And, to me, that's what custom building is. I mean, you can't have a blueprint. You have to be willing to meet their needs. I mean, everyone is different. So.
That's a great point. Jay, you and I have been involved in the trade associations like U.S. Green Building Council for how long? I mean, 20 years more.
Yeah.
Think about all the different trade associations you belong to, and everybody has their own green building program, whether it's LEED or Green Globes or Living Building Challenge, so on and so forth. Here in Wisconsin, many years ago, I helped write the Wisconsin Green Built Home Program, which is still being used today, by the way, even though it's vastly outdated. But in any event, if you think about that, it's that mentality that the industry has to strive towards meeting a certain metric or group of metrics that says this is a green home or this is a healthy home. So when a customer says, or when a company says we have the healthy home blueprint, to your point, Rusty, that's saying that if we just follow these rules, if we just meet these metrics, the home will be healthy. Okay, so define healthy. And nobody can it's like saying define green back in the day. Yeah. There is no specific version of green that everybody agrees with, the same way as there's no version of healthy. Every customer we talk to, you talk to, everyone Jay talks to, everybody has a little bit different version of what healthy is to them. And that's why you have to be very, very flexible.
That's a really good point.
Rusty, I really like this blueprint concept, because I think what you've just said is every blueprint's a unique blueprint. Your client's blueprint is their blueprint. It's not someone else's, and it can't be someone else's. It has to be theirs. And that's what makes it so beautiful. I'm just thinking, Andy, you're reminding me of when LEED got ramped up years ago, and they had kind of what I would call the pyramid of the hierarchy of pyramid of the things that were important.
Right.
And it was always shocking to both of us to remember that indoor air quality was down from the top. I think they had energy efficiency was at the top of the pyramid. Mm-hmm. And then they had it coming down, and shockingly, I think indoor air quality was like way down low, really low, near the bottom of the pyramid. And now it's moved up. It's up near the top now, which I always thought it should have been. They just should have inverted the pyramid. I think that would have been a better thing to do. Back then, it was like, oh, energy efficiency, yeah.
Well, right, everything's green. Not really. I mean, a lot of people get the two concepts mixed up. We still have people coming up to us like, oh, y'all are those green builders. Mm-hmm. We're like, no, we are not green. We are healthy. Two very different concepts.
I don't know about Wisconsin, but if you're in Texas and in the city limits, you're a green builder. Just building the code, you're a green builder, whether you like it or not.
That's a great point. Yeah. I really, and we all know that most builders will build to code. They don't really go beyond that. Most builders, of course, and there's you guys, but there's, most builders will, in the same way most manufacturers will make products that are just at the legal limits of what they can do, whether it's VOCs or other, health hazards. They can say, we meet those regulations. Well, just meeting a regulation doesn't make it very good. It just makes it what you're supposed to do. Yeah. So, and Jay, the LEED program, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, nowhere in that program does it say healthy. And that's why they had that spinoff of what's called the WELL program that was started by Rick Fedrizzi, the same guy who started USGBC or was high in USGBC. And he created the WELL program that spun off into its own thing. And they're trying to market that as being more towards health. But if you look at the metrics, again, that they use, they really just kind of focus on VOCs.
I actually read up on the WELL program right before I had Connor. Mm-hmm. And then I never got around to taking the test, but it was really interesting information. But just like you're saying, it was very metrics driven, and you can't really have one metric that applies to, especially commercial versus residential.
Right.
Well is very commercial focused.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think there's room for improvement.
That's a great point. And yes, there is room, plenty of room, but we get that call all the time from clients saying, how do we know it's a healthy home? Well, you have to trust your instinct. You got to trust your, what we're telling you, what JS2 is telling you. There is for the things that we do and the things you all do inside of your homes to make it a healthy home, there just isn't a metric for. There's all the research in the world you can find. You can print out pages of information about what you're doing, why you're doing it. But at the end of the day, this is again why you have to work with clients one-on-one, and why I don't think you'll ever see the giant home builders going this way. They don't have the ability to work with customers one-on-one to say, if we do this, will this be healthy for you?
Yeah.
Or right before we talked today, I had a client who's building a home, and she was very interested in doing radiant heat. Very interested. Turns out they don't need to do radiant heat for any health issues like fibromyalgia or anything like that. They just like the feel of it. That's great. Understand that doing radiant heat also means you double up your HVAC costs, because you also have to do duct work for your AC. And they start thinking about it, saying, you know what, maybe I want radiant heat, but do I really need it?
How good does it feel?
Exactly. Does it feel $50,000 worth of good? And so, but that's one of those things too, where you live in that home. During winter here in Wisconsin, every morning you wake up and you walk out to your kitchen and you're just in your socks and the floor is nice and warm. If that makes you feel good, that's a healthy home. In my book, that's also a healthy home attribute. But that's something to think about. If that's really important to you, then we have to shift dollars away from some other things. Instead of doing the paperless drywall, we'll have to do standard drywall. We may have to do a little bit different roofing material. Now we can't afford metal, so we got to do asphalt shingles. But you have to be able to shift those things around. If this were a program like a LEED or what have you, this is what you have to do. And there is no ability to shift around based upon your own personal beliefs.
I think you're touching on something that's interesting to me, Andy, and that is this whole idea of monetizing emotion.
Yeah.
How do and Andy and Jen, I'm interested in this. There's always budget pressure, right? Because people, you give them the menu, and here it is, and on this side of the menu, this is what you can expect to spend. On the other side of the menu, there's some other costs here, and there's that dialogue that has to go on about what they're comfortable being able to afford. And at the same time, you want to provide them the best possible house you can give them. But then you're in that push and pull. Oh, we can't really afford that. So what do we do? How do we balance that? To me, that's always one of the more tricky things about our businesses. People come to it with all these ideas about, oh man, it's got to be gold standard. And then you start showing them gold standard, and they go, oh, wait a minute, I think I'm more like in the nickel standard or the silver standard, right? Can we back it up a little bit here and talk about that? And I'm sure there's got to be some frustration on your side, because you know what they should do, but they're scared to spend the money. And I think you have to probably talk that up pretty good and say, listen, here's how it works. It's going to cost you more, but let me give you the long-term picture of this. Not to mention your own personal health being at the top of our priority list, but at the same time, let's talk about these other things that make sense in the long term. Mm-hmm. I think that's interesting. I'm sure you're having those discussions every day.
Oh yeah. A lot of people don't care about what's behind the walls and if it costs more, it costs less, but we just tell people up front, we have a standard of building, and that's what the healthy standard, and that's what we meet. We don't, substitute X amount of drywall that costs less money. We use our drywall that we source. And that's it. And so it's kind of like there's a base as far as healthy materials, and then we work with them on their selections so they can pick out selections that fit their budget. And that's, where the shifting comes in, and selections that are also healthy. Because, there are considerations for basically everything that goes in the home.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys how how I think y'all know I'm not very salesy. Usually with me, what you see is what you get, and I tend to just say it. But one thing that I guess if I have a sales pitch, I tell people to treat their selections like an old school equalizer on a radio. You know, if you want your kitchen to be very, very plush, raise that bar, but you're gonna have to lower one somewhere else.
Yeah.
But to add on to what Jim was saying, so we have our standard, but we don't show our clients anything that we haven't vetted, but we give them the option within those. You know, as Jay was saying, here's the gold line, and then here's the nickel line. You know, right. And then it's up to them to decide where to make it fit. You know, so.
We get the call all the time. How much does it cost to build a healthy home?
I have an answer for that too.
Yeah. And my answer is, well, it depends on, do you want the solid brass switch plate covers, or do you want the plastic ones? I mean, we don't know. If you compare apples to apples, if you compare quality level to quality level, if you're already building a good quality home, building a good quality healthy home really shouldn't cost much more at all.
Agreed.
It's when you look at the lower cost homes, and this is where we all struggle, because we have a lot of clients that just can't afford a custom home right now. I mean, let's face it, the cost of building materials, the average custom home is, you know, probably close to $300 a square foot, where, you know, 2-3 years ago, that was about what, 200 per square foot?
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, prices are going up pretty fast, but it's not expensive because it's healthy. It's expensive because it's good quality.
Yeah, no, we
Right.
say that all the time. And, you know, we've been very fortunate. Most of the people that call us are willing to pay that little bit extra for that quality, and not just quality, but oversight, you know, quality control, that full-time supervision. I mean, there's no way that us or anyone can guarantee a healthy home unless there's that full-time supervision. As far as I know, we're the only ones that are doing that. And like I said, our clients are more than willing to pay for that, because they know they're like, and it goes back to what you said earlier, there's that trust factor. They get to know our superintendents. They know that they're their advocate on that job site. The other thing too that lends us trust is, as you guys know, what Jen has gone through. And I know I've said this probably every time I've been on your show, but we actually live like our clients. We're not riding a niche. We're not doing this to be a gimmick. This is our real life. And so I think that helps our clients trust us, and then they're willing to pay that little bit of extra. So
yeah,
we used to have people call us for remodels, and they'd be like, we really want Jen to come over and tell us what she thinks about our house. And then eventually I had to be like, not happening. Sorry.
I know. I had a customer just last week offer to fly me down to Arizona. Can you please help us? We're buying a house. Can you please walk through some of these houses with us? And boy, I would love to. You know, the fact that people are even asking about that is telling me that there's an absolutely enormous need for more of us.
Yeah.
In the market.
Especially
and
people that
matter
can
of trying to find, you know, people you can trust.
I just did an interview last week with an architect out in New Hampshire, and that's what we did. We actually she sent me a bunch of photographs. It was actually a place she was moving into with her family, and they were renting this house in New Hampshire, beautiful house, really beautiful. And so she said, I've got some problems with the house. The floor was just refinished. It's off gas. I can't be in there. I said, well, send me some pictures. And I had proposed this in the first interview I did with her. We talked generally. And then I said, next time we meet, let's just do like we're going through a house. She said, that's a great idea. Right. So she sent me photos, and I acted like I was with her in New Hampshire. And she had kind of set me up, but you know, I had to act a little bit. I had to act like I was standing on her deck, and you know, it's so beautiful here in New Hampshire. I've always wanted to come to New Hampshire. I wasn't in New Hampshire. So, but we walked through the house, and I made comments about what I thought she was experiencing. So, yeah, I think to do it virtually is not exactly what they're talking about. They want you to be there.
Yes.
Right. They want to see your body, and they want you to walk through, and they want that confidence. And I think, Rusty and Jen, this is what makes what you're doing so important, because like you said, Rusty, you are the gatekeeper, and you've got advocates on your client's behalf that are watching the farm every day, not once a week, not once a month, every day. What happens? In the conventional world, everyone gets a great idea. Hey, we're going to use these great products. And then, oh, wait a minute, I couldn't get it, or I ran out of it. And then they slip down to the store and they try to do a substitution and sneak it in. And as soon as that happens, the client is gone crazy. Yep. The guy slipped this stuff in on me and it's making me sick. How did it happen? Yada, yada, yada. Yep. So, the fact that what you're doing is just watching the farm that closely, boy, to me, that would be worth gold standard. That's gold standard service. It's worth it.
Well, it's I tell you what it's done, and it's opened us up to new areas, not because we can go somewhere and build, but we have people relocating to Texas, to Horseshoe Bay, so Jen and I can build their home. We're building a home right now for a couple from New Mexico. They've been here 2 times, but they know every day we're sending them pictures. We're telling them, Rick's here. Rick's got your back. When they come in, we love it because the wife brings us cookies, and Jen tries to hide them from me, but I sneak a few before she does. And I mean, they know, Jay, like you said, we're watching the farm. And we have another couple that's moving. They just actually signed the paperwork today on one of our homes, moving from Michigan, just because we built the house, because they know how we do it and they trust us. And I mean, because we watch the farm. I like that term, Jay. I'm gonna have to steal that.
All right. You've got it. Take it away.
By
Well,
the way, I was just gonna side note, that couple wanted to do a mold test in the home because they had a really bad experience with living in a moldy home that made the whole family sick. And so they did the air test, and it came back with 4 little spores, and the whole, cassette that they had tested inside versus thousands that were outside. And I've always been kind of hesitant to do tests just because, I don't know, like, what if it comes back high? Then be like, we have to tear the house down. But I was so excited to see that, all of our efforts really are, I'm kind of the canary in the coal mine. You just send me in the house and I know, but it was nice to have that confirmation.
Oh, for sure.
What we're doing is really working, and we're excited for them to move here.
Just to declare, they've never even been to the house, bought it sight unseen, just because, I mean, I think it really, I always give all the credit to Jen. It just boils down to her because
it's not all me.
I mean, the wife has had similar struggles as Jen. And so they've just, it's an awesome feeling to think, my gosh, what we're doing, that we started, when we come up to visit you guys and talked about this, to 3 short years later, it's like, we got people uprooting their lives because they need this. Right. Not because it's a cool home. It's a very nice home, but it is like really something that they need in their life. And it validates everything that we hoped we would achieve.
Well, if COVID's done anything, it's raised our awareness about wellness.
Yeah.
And what it means, and how precious it is. And so it makes perfect sense that people see what you're doing and they want to be a part of that. So, I'm just so happy for you guys. Congratulations. I know right. Has it been 3 years since we first met in Wisconsin? Yeah. Has it been 3 years already? God, the time just flies by.
I never forget how cold and rainy it was.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I think we were wearing shorts, weren't you, Andy?
Probably. I'll put shorts on as soon as the temperature gets above 40 degrees here.
Oh my goodness. Y'all come to Texas.
Not right now.
No.
A little too hot for me right now.
These poor people are moving here from Michigan in like July in Texas.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. They're gonna be in for a rude awakening.
Well, all right, guys. We could probably talk all afternoon, but I want to before we wrap this up, Rusty, Jen, you had mentioned that you've got a couple of new home starts, and just give us a, just kind of a brief description on what the next 6 months is going to mean for you guys.
Gosh, just busy, trying to, juggle a business with a baby, and then, hopefully taking time for Jen and I to enjoy, some dinners or maybe some late time. But, we got some exciting builds coming up for some really, really great clients. Like I said, the people from New Mexico, we've got a couple from Colombia. It's pretty exciting. We have another investment property that we're building, a spec home. I'll send you some pictures of it. I want to keep it. Jen won't let me, but
fat chance, Rusty.
Well, guys, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and we look forward to having you back on probably in a few months again to hear what's going on. I'm sure by then, things will have changed another, 300% for you. It's unreal.
It's the continuing saga, JS2 Partners, the diaries.
I like it.
Fantastic.
Hey, you forgot one important project, Rusty.
Well,
what is it?
Our model home / office.
Yay.
Oh.
Hopefully by the end of the year. I'm really stoked about that.
Wow.
And folks, if you don't know, their office got destroyed earlier this year because of the freezing temperatures in Texas, right? And you had
apocalypse. This is a light dusting, but
you had pipes bursting, and ruined your whole office. So you're building a new model home. You're going to work out of there for a while.
Yeah, it was a plan for a while, but it's kind of put that on fast track, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, that's excellent. I mean, I really look forward to seeing that and being a part of it. So,
well, Andy, we got to get on the road and just do a live broadcast.
For sure.
Well, so interesting you say that, because it was about 2 years ago at this point that I started making plans to go to Texas and go to North Carolina and go to Southern California, do this huge coast to coast road trip and bring all my recording equipment and start talking in person to clients and looking at projects and so forth. And then, this whole pandemic issue came about. So it's about time to start planning that again. I really want to do that. I think that it'd be a lot of fun to walk through some of these projects and get some really good firsthand knowledge of what they're doing down there, because we can talk all the time like this, but to actually see it in person would just be an absolute thrill for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I know we've been to Wisconsin, and Jay, we came to see you too. So
it's our turn.
It's our turn to host you.
It's our turn to come out.
Fabulous. So when does it get below 80?
About 5:30 in the morning.
All right. Well,
6 a.m.
I'll take the red eye some morning, and I'll be there until noon. All right, folks. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for being loyal listeners of Non-Toxic Environments. As always, if you have any questions directed to Jay and I or Jen and Rusty, please feel free to shoot me an email, andy@degreeofgreen.com, and tell your family and friends and your neighbors about the show. We're still the #1 healthy home show on the iTunes network. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Jay, good to hear from you.
All right, Andy, good to be here. Jen and Rusty, congratulations. Good to hear from you guys.
Thank you guys.